The moment I set the plain, white envelope on Derek Caldwell's desk at Vertex Dynamics, his face flushed beet red. He stared at the single page inside like it was written in a foreign language. "Sophia, you're joking, right? You're actually walking away?" His voice cracked higher than usual for a Monday morning. I kept my posture straight, hands folded calmly in front of me, and replied evenly, "It's effective immediately. I've tied up every loose end." That single act of handing over my resignation sent ripples through the entire Austin-based tech firm. But no one saw it coming, not even me. At first. To understand why my quiet departure triggered such chaos, we have to rewind to the beginning. When I first stepped into Vertex Dynamics 5 years ago, full of quiet ambition and belief in merit, I joined as a senior software architect in their healthcare solutions division. Vertex was expanding rapidly, landing contracts with hospital networks across the country. I wasn't the type to chase LinkedIn fame or dominate meetings with buzzwords like synergy or disruption. While my peers networked aggressively at after-work events, I focused on the code, the complex, tangled legacy systems that kept failing under pressure. My first real test came during a routine compliance audit in my second quarter. The patient data synchronization module kept crashing under load, risking hefty fines from federal regulators. Panic spread through the team. Derek, my manager at the time, called frantic war room sessions. But solutions were superficial. I stayed after hours one Friday, poring over logs and APIs until 3 a.m. By dawn, I had identified conflicting legacy protocols and deployed a custom middleware patch. The system stabilized. Audit passed cleanly. Derek sent a brief, "Thanks for pulling that off" email. No fanfare. No bonus mention. I told myself it was fine. I thrived on the intellectual satisfaction of untangling chaos. Those early wins quietly built my reputation internally. When the board pushed for a full cloud migration to meet updated HIPAA standards, I volunteered to map the pathways. I spent months documenting dependencies, phasing rollouts to avoid downtime, and stress testing integrations across time zones. Projects others deemed too risky succeeded because of my behind-the-scenes fixes. Colleagues started calling me the stabilizer in Slack threads. Derek would occasionally drop by my desk with coffee, saying things like, "I honestly don't know how you keep everything running so smoothly. Sophia, you're invaluable." Those words felt genuine then, warming the long hours. But success has a shadow side in corporate America. The more reliable I became, the more invisible my contributions grew. The same executives who once praised my late-night saves began treating me as default operations support. Invites to strategy sessions went to flashier team members. Credit for successful deployments subtly shifted upward. I noticed but didn't protest at first. I still believed results would eventually speak louder than politics or golf course connections. Derek's promotion to VP of Operations accelerated the shift. Gratitude evaporated into pure expectation. Requests came rapid-fire, revised projections by 6 p.m., patch vendor issues over weekends, cover for absent colleagues. No greetings, no follow-up thanks. I swallowed it because the work itself, building durable systems that protected sensitive health data, felt meaningful. Yet doubt crept in. I'd seen other talented women, especially those without loud voices or powerful allies, get sidelined despite stellar performance. No title bumps. No structured raises tied to impact. That's when I began quietly collecting evidence, not for revenge, but protection. Every email chain with approvals bearing Derek's initials. Every time-stamped deliverable. Every risk assessment I authored and he countersigned. I organized them methodically in personal folders. It was my quiet insurance in a system that often rewarded proximity over competence. The turning point arrived with the Nexus project. Vertex's most ambitious undertaking yet, a 15-month enterprise integration migrating legacy hospital systems to a secure, scalable cloud architecture for our largest client, a national healthcare network. It involved synchronizing patient records across 3 time zones, enforcing strict compliance layers, and handling massive data volumes without a single breach. Failure could trigger lawsuits and lost contracts worth tens of millions. The team viewed it as career suicide. I accepted it quietly during a tense planning meeting. For over a year, I poured my soul into it. Sleepless nights debugging API conflicts with unreliable vendors. Weekend deployments to test failover logic. Coordinating with client CTOs who demanded perfection. When we delivered on time, under budget by $480,000, with 99.2% uptime and glowing client feedback, Derek's handshake was clammy. "You've exceeded expectations, Sophia," he muttered, eyes avoiding mine. "Promotion considerations are in motion. Just stay patient." I nodded, but something in his tone felt hollow. By then, I had learned the unwritten rule. Reliability without self-promotion often means being taken for granted indefinitely. Months passed after the Nexus success. I waited for the promised conversation about advancement. Instead, silence. No performance review follow-up. No org chart updates mentioning me. The daily grind resumed, with Derek piling on more responsibilities under the assumption I'd handle them indefinitely. My folder of documentation grew thicker, screenshots of his good-to-go approvals at odd hours, version histories proving my authorship on key frameworks, client satisfaction metrics tied directly to my work. The blow landed unexpectedly one ordinary Wednesday morning at the coffee station. Natalie from HR leaned in with a sympathetic half-smile. "Heard the news about the new senior director of operations? Congrats to him, I suppose." My stomach dropped. "New director?" She hesitated. "Derek didn't mention it?" "Ethan Reeves was announced in the company channel this morning." I opened my laptop right there. Fingers cold. The internal comms banner celebrated. "Pleased to welcome Ethan Reeves as Senior Director of Operations, bringing fresh external expertise to drive our strategic initiatives." Ethan. 6 months earlier, he'd been a consultant delivering glossy slide decks, explaining basic concepts I'd architected from scratch. He once referred to cloud architecture as that online storage stuff in a budget review and left early for personal errands while I covered his gaps. Now he leapfrogged me, the person who'd built the very systems he'd inherit. My pulse stayed steady. But inside, betrayal burned. No mention of Nexus. No acknowledgement of the foundational work I'd delivered. Just fresh perspective and bored optics. Derek didn't call or email. 2 days later, he appeared at my desk with a paper coffee cup and forced grin. "Don't take it personally, Sophia. It's about external experience. Making stakeholders comfortable. Ethan's got that network." He nudged the cup closer. "You're still essential here. Titles don't define value." Those words crystallized it. He never intended to follow through. Back at my desk, I reviewed my employment contract meticulously. Appendix section on tier 1 project delivery under budget explicitly triggered advancement eligibility reviews. Emails from Derek over the prior year promised follow-through post-Nexus. "You're the clear choice once this wraps." Signed documents. Timestamps, all preserved. That night, anger gave way to cold clarity. I'd believed merit would prevail over country club ties and optics. I'd mentored juniors, shielded teams from impulsive pivots, covered absences without complaint. Yet when the moment came, I was passed over for someone who couldn't even explain our core middleware. The realization felt small at first, then crushing. I opened new folders, Ethan transition notes, and contractual protections. If they wouldn't honor promises, I'd ensure accountability through records. Sleep evaded me that weekend. I meticulously reviewed backups, compliance exports, key screenshots of Derek's approvals on change orders he'd begged me to expedite outside normal channels. Everything airtight. My resignation letter was clinical, effective immediately. Vacation payout requested. Thanks for opportunities. Wishing success. No accusations, just facts. Mirroring the precision I'd brought to every project. By Monday, 8 a.m., I stood in Derek's doorway as he stirred creamer into his mug. I handed him the envelope. Thank you for the opportunities over the years. He scanned it, confusion shifting to panic. This is serious? He asked too loudly. I confirmed loose ends were documented in the tracker. He stood, trying to intimidate. We need to talk about your future here. I replied there was little left to discuss, and turned to leave. Papers rustled behind me as he fumbled for his phone. Walking past HR. Natalie opened her mouth, then closed it wisely. At my desk, a team lead whispered concern. I powered down calmly. They saw this coming. They just didn't think I'd follow through. I packed deliberately, letting the silence weigh on them. A resignation follow-up meeting invite arrived. I declined and archived access. By mid-morning, Derek had called multiple times. Funny how urgency appears only after absence. Reaching my car, I drove away without looking back. The pings continued on my personal devices even after credential lockout. By afternoon, a Gmail notification. Urgent. Performance documentation request from legal. Someone had finally asked the right question. Had there been a documented promotion path? The internal silence smelled like exposure. From insider accounts later, panic set in quickly. Derek's assistant combed archives, uncovering my name embedded throughout Nexus documentation, risk plans I authored and he countersigned, deployment maps timestamped by me, vendor protocols, rollback strategies, all bearing my fingerprints. The resignation PDF, attached per protocol to compliance reviews, started dominoes falling. Natalie texted discreetly. Derek's in damage control. Legal looped compliance. Everyone asking why we let you go. Follow-up. He's claiming he expected you'd reconsider. Reconsider? I wasn't a resource to orbit back on command. I'd been the translator between executive spin and actual deliverables. The one preventing lawsuits through 2 a.m. Patches. They convened emergency meetings. My former team lead called that evening. Voice hushed. They're pulling every document with your name. CFO questioning the retention clause oversight. I confirmed I'd read every line. She'd seen similar stories. Quiet professionals holding departments together until departure reveals the machine's dependence. By Tuesday, spin began. HR emailed delicately about ambiguity in advancement criteria. Ambiguity, corporate code for hoping I'd forgotten my own achievements. But my milestone tracker was a fortress. Every checkpoint initialed by Derek. Hyperlinks to signed docs. No lates. Screenshots proved his Saturday night thumbs up during launch windows. The final wrap-up deck I'd emailed execs drew direct CFO praise. Legendary. Hope we retain this talent. Audit trails showed I originated docs Ethan merely copied. They couldn't erase metadata. SharePoint logs confirmed authorship. Their eligibility excuse collapsed against my tier. 1 delivery. On time. Under budget. 0 critical issues. I'd helped draft the internal rubric making this gold standard for promotion. Forwarding a zip of trackers, Slack exports, recordings, and metadata left them silent for hours. Legal replied acknowledging review of materials. Derek called from his personal line. Voicemail syrupy. Let's discuss this as a team. I texted back. All materials with legal. HR. Compliance. See audit thread. That landed. He realized this wasn't emotional exit, but contractual reckoning. Meanwhile, I revisited a Dropbox folder untouched for years. 2019 retention agreement from the West Coast rollout crisis. Back then, untested integrations collapsed days before launch. A contractor vanished. Derek had whispered urgently for quiet fixes. I sacrificed my anniversary weekend rewriting code while he golfed. Stabilized in 10 days. In gratitude, they offered a retention package, bonus, vague promises, and Clause 9C buried deep. In lieu of promotion, voluntary departure triggers full accelerated compensation equivalent to promoted involuntary termination, including bonus, 2-year stock vesting extension, 12+ months benefits at higher tier. Derek had laughed it off as just a backstop. I'd insisted on clarified, countersigned copy. There it sat. Ratified. Time-stamped. Signed by him and legal. Their promotion denial activated it unintentionally. I reread deliberately. This wasn't vengeance. It was enforcement of their words. Their optics play had handed me leverage they'd forgotten. The email I composed was precise like deployment specs. Subject, Clause 9C invocation. Addressed to Derek. HR. Legal. I listed entitlements. Senior Director Bonus Acceleration. RSU Vesting Extension. Benefits Continuation. Attachments included signed clause PDF. Nexus Closeout Report. CFO Acknowledgements. Slack Exports. SharePoint Logs Proving Impact. Appreciate Timely Processing. Best. Sophia. Sent. Read receipts came fast. Legal first, then HR. Derek last. Less than 3 hours later. Legal confirmed validity under 9C. Processing underway. No counteroffers. No pleas. They knew the clause was binding. Drafted and shelved by them. Derek's accidental Slack drop, forwarded by finance. She actually kept that clause? Why did I sign it? Reply, because she saved us in 19. You forgot. Poetic justice. 2 weeks later. Ethan resigned quietly. No announcement. Just position vacated on org chart. Insiders reported he'd fumbled client syncs. Unable to explain middleware I'd authored and patched at odd hours. When asked about conditional overrides on failover, he blinked, processes I'd single-handedly stabilized. Without me buffering, Derek faced direct scrutiny. The client relationship strained. Vertex reached out via new, external relations title, politely exploring short-term consulting for continuity. I forwarded to archive. No reply. Instead, the healthcare client CFO called directly. We'd value your advisory input, quarterly. Remote. Competitive compensation. I accepted. Soon I joined their roadmap calls from my sunroom. Camera off. Coffee in hand. Vertex appeared on agenda under vendor reliability risks. Derek skipped. A junior read scripted updates. His former confidence seat now placeholder unavailable. My documentation still governed their processes. The blank space on their chart symbolized lost illusion of replaceability. The internal audit summary leaked days later. Page 9. Under Operational Disruptions, Key Personnel Departure Activated Clause-Based Equity Acceleration. Oversight noted. Redacted but unmistakable. No apology. Just clinical admission. Finance contact texted. $750,000 total. RSUs. Accelerated bonus. Fees. Rollover. Derek under review. Board displeased. I watched a storm gather over the lake from my porch. Coffee warming my hands. The silence felt clean. Final. Not triumphant, but resolved. No LinkedIn posts. No gloating. Those who mattered understood. Derek's short-term power plays met long-term contracts. Titles never equaled control. Signatures did. Quiet professionals don't shout, but their absence measures in ledgers. In denying recognition, Vertex triggered the very parachute they'd written. Reflecting now, I wonder about the system. How many competent voices stay silent too long, believing loyalty reciprocated, until betrayal forces reckoning? Documentation isn't paranoia, it's self-preservation in environments prizing optics over substance. Contracts endure where handshakes fail. My story leaves this haunting question. When merit is overlooked for connections, who truly bears the cost, the overlooked, or the house built on their unseen labor?